I was going to ask you guys a question. So I've been watching this channel, watching a bunch of channels now, but I'm watching this channel about game collection. Like, what do you guys think of like really specific game collection? Like knowing the specific, this is the 1999 version of this case because it's, yellowed around the edges and it has this type. Like, what do you guys think of like that really specific? Like, are you guys interested in that kind of thing? I'm interested to watch it. I don't think I would do it.
Criminalize it.
I can.
Jesus. Oh my God.
As somebody who catalogs in certain things, I can appreciate it.
That's kind of what I thought you would say, actually, because I was wondering if like there's somebody out there that probably has like a spreadsheet.
Fuck yeah, they do.
Of all the different things of like, because there was one instance in which a DualShock 2, so for the PlayStation 2, was showed off, but it wasn't a DualShock 2. It was like just a controller. And the guy was saying, here's a PlayStation 2 controller. It looks relatively the same as all the other PlayStation 2 controllers in terms of its packaging. But he's like, this one's different. If you notice inside of this little white box, there's some text, and he like zooms the camera in. It says it doesn't include the rumble feature. And he was like, during this particular year, Sony was being sued for the vibration mechanism inside of the DualShock 2, and therefore they weren't sure whether or not they'd be able to sell the controllers with the rumble. And so they the way I understand it, maybe I don't fully understand, but the way I understand it is they specifically made it just so, and then they shipped out very few models of it just as like a stopgap, so that if they were not able to sell rumble anymore, they could easily just flip over one of the production lines and already have a production line running, is how I understood it. The person that was went through very briefly, but I just kind of thought that was fascinating that people would know that so specifically. And I don't even know where you would look that up. There's not a history textbook that would describe all this stuff. And where would you find it all? Because a lot of this is kind of pre-internet.
What they're probably doing at that point, whoever's doing it, is contacting like production coordinators or whoever would have overseen those developments at that time, and just asking them straight up. They're like, "Well, can you tell me about this?" Like, "Oh yeah, well we did this on this line," and blah 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 blah. You'll be surprised how much information that is, like, it's scraped from just firsthand sources.
And if there's like legal stuff, there's records of all that stuff that you can access somewhere.
That's fascinating.
I don't know where, but what drives me nuts about that stuff, and I do have a fascination with it. I've talked to you guys about wanting to start like a human archive that just records literally everything that anyone has ever done.
Yes, sir.
But that would just drive me nuts because you would never feel like it was complete. Like, how would you ever know you actually had every single version of something?
I think that's a terrible idea for you.
Because I want it to be complete?
Because you would drive yourself mad to complete it. That'd be okay with me, because at a certain point in my life, I've acknowledged that I can't have everything complete. Mm-hmm. There will always be a gap. For me, I find comfort or acceptance in the idea of not having a piece of information. Having something there can tell you just as much as if there had something there. Mm-hmm. So I'm okay with not having a piece of information as long as it's acknowledged that there is a gap in that knowledge.
But how do you know how many gaps there needs to be?
You don't. You just...
Yeah, that drives me nuts.
Yeah.
I remember I wanted to catalog my record collection and just kind of... Because I often go to record stores and buy duplicates because I just don't know what's in my collection. And so I was looking up... what's it called? Discogs, I think, is like a website that has like a bunch of record stuff. But they have like every single version that was printed in both Canada, US, rest of the world, printed at different, factories and stuff. And I'm just like, oh my God, I just wanted to know what album I had, not the very specific album I had.
I guess that comes with the territory of... Because it's so specific, like because you're trying to catalog it, there's so much information, it becomes like almost hard to manage it in a simple way. Where instead of you just saying like, I'm just making this up, it's like, instead of you just saying like, hey, I have a copy of God of War Ragnarok for PS5. It's like, well, which one? And what, region? and all this other stuff comes like flying in.
I think what would help is if you like localize it. If you wanted to collect, I don't know, iPods, you'd have to say, I just want to collect the iPods that were sold in Canada, right?
Okay,
and then not worry about storage size. Just say I want the iPod Nano. It originally came in black and white. I want those 2 models. Done.
Get specific with it.
Yeah.
See, for me though, if I was doing something like the iPods or whatever, I would just say I'm collecting any and all flavors of iPod that I do not have.
I like the bubblegum flavor.
Yeah, so I don't have this one. I'm just going to obtain it and get it.
There's a special edition U2 iPod Classic.
I remember that commercial,
and I don't think it is actually worth all too much in the used market.
The one that came preloaded with that one album of theirs?
No, so that's
this was before that.
This was before, yeah.
Yeah, it's when there was a marketing deal between U2 and Apple. So if you go on the original app, the iPod app on the iPhone when it first launched, the 3G or 2G or 3GS, whatever, if you go into the artist or music tab of your iPod, because everything was mixed together, there is a silhouette of a singer to represent that icon. That silhouette is Bono.
Right, yeah. Yeah, so I just did a quick Google search. If you look up the U2 iPod, it's only selling for like $170, which isn't, a lot, which is probably less than the retail price.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's probably about the same as what it originally cost.
Yeah, so even stuff like that's kind of funny, where you think it would be a desirable, collector's item, and it just doesn't turn out that way.
That's got a sting for them too. It's like, oh man, we're going to be associated with this. It's going to make it like so much more valuable. And then it's just like not. They're like, oh.
U2 is a bizarre band too, because it's like it's a love or hate thing I find with a lot of people.
That's everything these days.
And
though.
Even the people who love them though, you don't really hear about it much.
There are dozens of us.
Not very vocal about it. But
There
U2 is
are
very
dozens of
successful
us.
as far as I've heard.
They've got like multiple platinum records, I'm pretty sure.
And after they did that, when they forced that album on everyone's iTunes accounts, there was an uproar, and people didn't like it. But I remember reading at the time that U2 went on to have one of their biggest tours ever after that. So
yeah, it was a net gain for them.
Yeah.
Oh, a lot of the people with stuff like that too. A lot of people would just be like, "Oh, they gave me a free song. I don't like that," and that'd be it. They wouldn't be taking I don't know, Twitter was around back then. I don't remember how far back it was, but they wouldn't be taking to Twitter or taking to the customer support lines at the very least. They would just be like, oh, like whatever.
Well, Apple had to develop a tool to allow people to remove it from their accounts.
I remember that.
Yeah.
It wasn't good enough just to delete it from your personal storage. People didn't even want it on their accounts. They didn't even want to see it. It's hilarious.
I mean, I guess like it's a lesson in UX. I think people probably freaked out a little too much, but it's a lesson in UX. Have a pop up or something that says, "Hey, we're gonna give this away for free. Do you want this?"
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Hello and welcome. This is Dan and Pat Podcast, episode 414. I'm your host, Ryan Johnson. I mean, Matt, you can see it. You manage the podcast.
Did you say bias?
Huh?
No, I said lies.
Oh.
Lies, yeah. Anyway, you got Matt Lawrence with us. Causing trouble.
I am.
Tim Spence, how you doing?
I'm already off my game. Matt's gotten in my head now.
And Adriano Petty.
Hey.
Tim, tell us what's new about your PC there.
What's new is that
to be.
I've got a pile of parts sitting next to it that I was intimidated to put together, but now hopefully is not actually going to be that big of a deal.
Parts that want to get inside.
They're craving the touch of a nice warm motherboard.
That graphics card wants to game.
And by God, if I do one thing, I'm gonna let it.
Like that goes for you too, Adriano.
Yeah. Sorry, what was that?
Now.
Yeah, 3080 Ti's. Woo.
He's giving you a hard time about running basic games on your 3080 Ti.
Well,
you know what the first game I'm going to play is Vampire Survivors.
Fuck yeah, it is.
You son of a bitch. Isn't that the first game Adriano played?
Yeah, a little bit of Rogue Legacy, maybe some Marvel Snap.
Have you played the second Rogue Legacy yet?
Yeah, that's what I'm playing right now. I played the first one when it first came out. But ever since the Overwatch Battle Pass came out and Marvel Snap came out, I have not touched it. It's been I need to force myself back to it.
When I built this computer and put the 2060 Super in it, the first thing that I played on my brand spanking new gaming PC that I had built was WoW Classic.
Wow.
Like not even modern WoW.
Yeah.
Like the worst version of WoW. Well, graphically, I should say.
And MMOs aren't always the hardest game to run.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, was it easier to run WoW Classic? They didn't even give it a facelift or anything like that? It
got like a resolution facelift and like modernization enhancement kind of ideal, but it was gameplay wise and most like models wise, it was exactly the same.
Okay.
As far as I know. I might be wrong. Don't quote me on that. I'm making claims that I'm not 100% sure about.
What's your CPU, Tim?
AMD Ryzen 9600?
Ryan, what's my CPU?
Yours is a Ryzen 9 5900.
I'll have to believe you on that. I have no idea.
You don't know your own system?
Ryan, do you remember the process of me?
You built
quote unquote. No. I did not build this.
Yes, you did. You put the pieces in.
No, I commissioned a build. I physically put them in, but you're the one who told me to do it. If you weren't there to tell me to what to do in what order, it wouldn't have happened.
I basically spent your money for you too. I chose the parts.
I pretty much said, "Hey Ryan, here's my wallet. What do I buy?" And you're like, "Here, do this, or this one." I'm like, "Okay, done."
The artist's dream.
Yeah.
You're gonna commission me? You're giving me full creative control? Oh hell yeah!
But no, credit to Ryan, and thank you for doing it. He did pick pieces that would make sense. He's like, take this case because this one's white. He's like, I know you like aesthetically white, but this one here, it's similar to mine. You don't need that. So he didn't go batshit crazy on with my budget.
He could have got you a 5950X.
Yeah, sure.
Which I think you did say you wanted to buy, but I was like, no, it was too much.
Oh yeah, because you had pitched it. I said, okay, sure, I'll buy it. And then you're like, no, don't do that one. And then I'm like, okay, tell me what to buy.
But that was expensive.
Okay.
He didn't care. Yeah, he didn't care at the time.
I mean, if you want it, go ahead. But, geez. All right, let's hop into the stories for the week. Starting off with the Game Awards. So the Game Awards got announced. They take place on December 8th. You can check your local listings for times. Let's go over some of the nominees here. Now, I'm going to skip a bunch. No disrespect to those categories. I mean, the freaking show itself skips a bunch of these anyway.
Oh.
Most anticipated game. Let's go here. Final Fantasy 15. Hogwarts
16,
Legacy.
Right? Not 15.
16, correct, yes. My Roman numeral viewing is rusty here.
Come on.
Hogwarts Legacy, Resident Evil 4, Starfield, sure, yes. Starfield and The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. I almost wanted to say Tears of the Kingdom.
See, everyone kept saying that. Is it tears or tears? Because the Earth was getting torn apart. It could be tears. And Nintendo had to go out and say, it is not tears, it's tears.
This is exactly what happens in an episode of Mythic Quest where this writer in the 70s names a book Tears of the Inarin. And everyone reads it as Tears of the Inarin, and he's like, "No, that's
tears
incorrect."
Of something. You wouldn't say that.
Yeah,
the tears of it.
Yeah.
Look at the tears of this loaf of bread. No, you wouldn't say that.
What is your personal most anticipated games on this list? Anyone at all?
For me, I would have said Tears of the Kingdom. But I think it's Final Fantasy for me now. I think I've shifted. And it feels weird to say it. The words, they don't feel good in my mouth.
You're not the biggest Final Fantasy fan, right?
No, I'm not. Or I should say I wasn't. But then I played a couple Final Fantasy games. And I was really swayed by Final Fantasy VII Remake. And 16 is the first one in a long time that's going back to like a high fantasy setting.
Yeah.
Which is obviously my cup of tea. Without milk. So
damn it.
So I'm really, anything I've seen on 16 is honestly like getting me really hyped for it. And I'm not one to typically get hyped for games. Like, I'm excited for Tears of the Kingdom, but I already kind of know what to expect for the most part because of Breath of the Wild, I think. And I might be wrong. It might completely surprise us and just blindside us out of nowhere with a ton of new shit, which would be cool. But at the same time, I feel like I'm excited, but I'm not super hyped for it because I know that it's just going to be like pretty good. It's going to be fun, but not that exciting, I don't think. If that makes sense. Maybe that doesn't make any sense.
No, that makes perfect sense because I think I feel the same way about God of War Ragnarok. I'm excited for it, and I'm currently playing it, and it's great. But it's just like I've been here before. It's not that brand new territory.
Right. Okay.
Although looking at this, I think it's funny that they didn't capitalize on Breath of the Wild and call it Breath of the Wild 2. But then I was thinking, is any Legend of Zelda game have like a just a 2 after it?
Yeah, the second one is called Zelda 2, Adventure of Link. But I think I think that might be the only one that had a 2 in it. Yeah.
I was trying to think if there was a third one, but I don't think there is. I think you're right.
Where's the list again? Because I clicked on the link and it wants me to rotate my iPad, and I'm not going to rotate my iPad.
We're in the most anticipated category.
It's a lot of work to iPad.
Yeah.
The list is Final Fantasy 16, Hogwarts Legacy, Resident Evil 4, Starfield, and The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom.
How dare you! I'm gonna reach through my computer. I'm gonna slap that word out.
There's three of them. There's 3 of them on that list, which I highly anticipate.
I'm going to guess Zelda, Resident Evil, and Starfield?
Hogwarts?
Four, I guess, actually. Then I think
the whole
he's
list.
anticipating the category.
Yeah.
Plot twist.
Yep. No,
so which one's it, Adriano?
Yeah, all the Starfield, Hogwarts Legacy. I'm looking forward to
Hogwarts Legacy, eh?
Yeah.
Because that's actually mine, I think.
Yeah. I am excited for Zelda, but I don't have a way of actually playing it because I don't have a Switch. So I don't know.
Oh, when you played on your Wii U, right?
Yeah, I played the first one on my Wii U. So I don't know when I'll actually get around to playing it. It could be a long time from now. And then Resident Evil 4, even though I don't think that game needed to be made, I am looking forward to it. And then Starfield, because that's a original Bethesda IP I can look forward to. The ship modifications look super cool.
I think that might be the first Bethesda game in a long time that I don't buy until it's like half price.
Is it because it's sci-fi?
Mostly.
Okay.
But I also I look at it and I don't think it necessarily looks that good. But this is just a subjective thing.
That first trailer did not do it any justice there.
No, certainly not.
Or any favors, rather. It kind of took the wind out of the sails a bit.
I think Starfield out of this list for me, because I want to go back to a Bethesda RPG that's single player. I kind of want to see, or I do want to see what they've done since 76. Like 76 is much improved from when it first came out, but it still has that sort of, it's still really janky and stuff like that. And whereas, that's kind of the running joke and the running reality of many Bethesda games, 76 is particularly janky and particularly needed updates. Whereas Fallout 4, at least in my opinion, and Oblivion and stuff, it had its jank, certainly, but it really wasn't as janky as 76. Yeah. So this is almost 8 years, or maybe it is 8 years in the making at this point, because I never really realized this, or I didn't realize this, but Fallout 4 has been out for a damn long time. It doesn't feel like it's been out that long, but 2015. So, I mean, because this,
I remember playing it when I moved into my first apartment.
Yeah. Really? So, it's been a long time. And I mean, if I really think of it, it's like, yeah, I've in terms of my gaming history, I've gone through a crap load of gaming history. crap load of games since Fallout 4, but it's always been like, I really enjoy Fallout 4, which is probably why it's kind of at the more at the forefront of my mind, I suppose, when I think about games. But I hope that this Starfield is as good or better at the very least. I enjoy No Man's Sky as well. Again, another game where it required a lot of updates, and I haven't gotten, super far into it or too far into it. And I hope that Starfield is just the single player version of it, where it's maybe a little less grindy, or it's a little less this and that. Not to say that No Man's Sky is particularly grindy, but I played that game for a while and didn't really get too far. Whereas single player games, they kind of go at their own pace. And so I hope it's just paced a little bit more toward the way I would like to play it. Where, I think, Ryan, you've mentioned it before, where in a Bethesda game, there comes a point when you're just like a god. You don't care. You don't take cover. Awesome. You don't do anything. You just walk into a situation. You're like, what's happening? And you just, it doesn't matter. People are shooting at you. It doesn't really matter. You just turn and kill them, and that's it. And take them out, whether it's in a fantasy environment with the Elder Scrolls or in a post-apocalyptic environment with Fallout. So I hope this is just more of that, just in a new setting. And so that's definitely my most anticipated. And if I were to choose a second, I would actually say Resident Evil 4, weirdly.
Wow.
Because I remember back in the day, everyone told me, pick up Resident Evil 4 from on the Wii, specifically. And my Wii at that point had been kind of sitting there idle for a very long time. Picked up Resident Evil 4 on a very deep discount, bargain bin, more than likely I did have the disc, so more than likely from like a Walmart bargain bin or something. Picked that up, and really enjoyed it, but never finished it. I don't remember why I never finished it, but now is it long?
Yeah, it's a pretty long game.
So like I got like past the castle. I don't know if that helps, but
that's like the second major area, I think.
Okay, yeah, it's so far in the past for me, I don't remember, but I got into it quite a bit. I think probably COD or something took over, because that's around the time when everyone started getting Xbox Live, and so my gaming had changed. But I'd like to play Resident Evil 4. Obviously, it's not on a Wii this time, but having a more modern experience with it would be cool.
Do it on a playthrough. Do it on a Wednesday night playthrough, or just record it or post it somewhere.
Resident Evil 4? I'll see how long it takes to beat. Like, I'll check how long to beat it or whatever, because it might take me a real long time.
Wait, you're talking about the original one?
First time playthrough, it's a decent while.
I heard it was pretty long.
Like 25 hours, I'd say, probably.
That's pretty long. Yeah, that is pretty long for a linear story game, for sure. So.
Especially if you don't know what you're doing. Like, it's fun though. The Resident Evil 4 is like the last time that Resident Evil was really goofy, I feel like. It was really campy back in the day, and now all the modern games are like a lot more serious.
Right.
But I like the arcadey like silliness of the original games.
Although what was it? 7 was kind of weird and wacky.
7 was weird, yeah.
I don't even remember 7.
Not nearly on the same level as 4 though. 4 is like over the top goofy like action movie levels of silliness sometimes. Like it's almost like Bollywood levels of silly action, and it's great. It's very like I can't think of a better word than campy. Like it's extremely tongue in cheek, like a lot of the time.
5 and 6 were like that too. Just the absurdness action of number 6 was just like jumping motorcycles over flaming cars and grabbing onto helicopters and
yeah, but it's like they didn't do it as much or to the same degree, I don't think, as 4. Like, not that it wasn't there, not that it was a completely different direction, but
I think those were two different things. Like they had the tongue in cheek silliness of 4, but number 6 is just absurd action ridiculousness. It was like Jack Bauer level, Chuck Norris level of action dumbness. That I found with number 6.
I like that they don't take themselves too seriously. It's funny in the genre.
Mm-hmm. For me, the pinnacle, and this is such a meme online, everyone knows, but in number 5 when a boulder has to be moved and Chris Redfield with his bulging muscles is just standing there punching a boulder into a volcano. Like it just sums it up. Yeah, it sums it up so well.
All right, let's move on to another category here. Really quickly, the one that always makes me feel old is Content Creator of the Year. What I like about this year, though, is so you have like the gamer names like Ludwig, Nibelian, Nobrew, and QT Cinderella. But then there's Carl Jacobs. So that guy's gonna be my vote for using his own name. I appreciate that. Let's see, best multiplayer game: Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, Multiverses, Overwatch 2, Splatoon 3, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge.
Kind of slim pickings. Not slim, but that like those are smaller titles being nominated than I would have thought.
Shredder's Revenge is very good, though. Shredder's Revenge is...
Did you play a multiplayer?
Never played a multiplayer either. Like, and it's definitely one of those games where every time I hear about it on any of the podcasts I listen to, everyone's always talking about the absolute chaos and madness it was with a group of friends. I just played it single player, and almost that, to me, that speaks to the quality of it, because clearly, or at least it sounds like it's better multiplayer, and I still was able to very easily get through it. It's a really well crafted game, especially if you like beat 'em ups. It's I'm not very good at beat 'em ups, but holy crap, is it fun!
I can see actually Multiverses winning this one.
I don't know.
I don't know what the
really
perception
like
of it was
that much.
Oh no.
Although, no, you know what? That's not fair, because I'm looking at it through the lens of like people who play other fighting games, and it wasn't very like popular within their sort of communities,
right?
But that doesn't speak for everybody. So,
well, I saw a lot of talk about it on my like personal social media channels, just kind of people having fun with it. Not to say it's the best multiplayer game, but I think it just had a bit of a rise more than these other games. Overwatch 2 obviously did, just because of the craziness of the the launch, and then it being so like anticipated. Call of Duty is always Call of Duty. I don't know if there's a big market for Splatoon.
It's the best-selling game of all time in Japan.
Woo, really?
Yep, by far, actually.
That's insane. And then I can see Team NT winning as well, because I heard that was really fun.
The thing with Call of Duty this year as well is, because I know you said Call of Duty is always Call of Duty, I would say, having played a lot of the Call of Duties over the years, this Call of Duty is the most refreshing to me as a casual player, which is why it may win, just due to that. It's very boots on the ground, as they used to always,
what does that even mean? People keep saying that. I don't know what that means.
So Call of Duty became very mobile. So basically, instead of you being like a soldier running around shooting at each other in multiplayer, they had Advanced Warfare, which had jetpacks. They had running on walls. I think there was a grapple hook. And so I remember one time, as just a personal example, in Black Ops 3, I remember seeing a person we were on two apartment rooftops, and this person saw me, another player, and I heard like a grapple hook go off, heard a bunch of running. I don't even know where they went. They appeared behind me and they killed me. And it's very, like, it's just a lot of movement. So boots on the ground is just that. You're a soldier and you're fighting. You're not running around being absolutely crazy with jetpacks and stuff.
So more of a grounded experience rather than
exactly
being a parkour shooter.
And
like critically acclaimed award-winning shooter Brink by Bethesda.
No.
Buy a copy today for probably $1.99.
That's sad, a little bit.
It's very sad, yeah.
But COD, like, to me anyway, I was playing with a group of guys on Apex, and they had mentioned something that I never really paid attention to, and I think I mentioned this on the show before, where they were saying that Apex was going in the direction of taking the pros' feedback and the Twitch streamers and all the other influencers, the esports guys, they're taking their influence and putting it on the game too much. And it was, great for them because they were, getting all the features and stuff that they wanted, but it wasn't good for the casual guys. I don't play Apex that much, so I didn't really see that or understand the changes. But when Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 came out, and it felt like COD 4 again without feeling old, I thought, wow, this is like a big difference. No slide canceling. I'm not running on walls. I'm not doing any of this. It's just like really grounded combat, a good time to kill. I love the gun system. I love like making new guns out of like the same platform. It's like, oh, this isn't just the M4. This is the M4 platform. What do you want to do? Do you want to make it into a sniper? Do you want to make it into an LMG? What do you want to do with it? So I would say
sort
by
of
making
modular, like gun creation kind of thing.
Oh yeah, it's like a full gunsmith, and there's some complaints about how to unlock the parts, because it's sort of like, hey, you want this sight for the M4? Well, you have to like get this shotgun to like level 5, and it becomes like a web of like, oh, I don't have that shotgun. How do I get this shotgun? Oh, I have to get this SMG up to, becomes a bit of that. But for a casual player, COD Modern Warfare 2 is the best COD I've played in easily a decade.
Jeez,
that's high praise.
It's a good one, man. Like, if you like COD at all, I'd pick it up. Unless you're, like, into the really quick sort of, like, what I would call, like, the streamer combat or the esports combat. I hear a lot of the influencers complain about it, although maybe that happens every year. I don't follow COD that closely. But, like, they don't like that it's slower. Whereas, like, this is absolutely tailored for, like, someone kind of just playing the game casually after work.
Right. I think my personal vote, just because it's probably the only one I've kind of played, which is Overwatch 2, but I can see that being a little odd given that it's very similar to the first game. A little strange it even has a nomination.
It is basically just an update, eh?
Yeah, but that's fine. All right, next category here. Let's see. Best family game. That's a surprising category.
Why do you say that?
I don't know. Just it's not like they have best family movie at the Oscars.
No, but it's like it is a genre.
I think
and it's a lot of people. A lot of people enjoy family games or like party games.
I think they're looking for ways to give good games an award because these ones probably won't even be nominated for Game of the Year, right?
Different categories, yeah.
Yeah, so the ones in this category: Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga, Mario plus Rabbids: Sparks of Hope, Nintendo Switch Sports, and Splatoon 3. Like none of those have a chance of being nominated for Game of the Year, and so this gives them an opportunity to take an award home.
There's a chance.
Again, though, I've only played Lego Star Wars. I only played one of these.
And what did you think?
It's good.
All right.
Do you do the Mario and Rabbids stuff?
No, because they're like XCOM, right? And I never was really into
Are they
XCOM.
really?
Yeah.
Holy, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're like the XCOM games, but a little more freeform, a little more like not relying so much on hardcore strategy. Although that being said, they might have different difficulty levels. I don't know. I saw some gameplay of the Sparks of Hope when it came out, and I thought it was the closest I'd ever been to actually picking up a copy of that game. But I thought, if I'm going to play this, I should probably get the first one first. And it'll be cheaper, maybe, if I get like a used copy somewhere. But I just never got around to it.
I also like Kirby is in the Last of Us universe there.
Yeah.
That's so good.
I hear that they're going to add to Wii Sports as well. They're gonna add Nintendo Switch Sports. They're gonna add golf to it, which I mean I don't care about the golf aspect, but what's interesting is that they're gonna update it. Is it a live game? Has anyone played it?
It's not like a live game, I don't think, because there's no there's no microtransactions and stuff like that. There's no like battle pass or a season or anything. There are. I mean, I guess you could say that there are I would say like micro seasons. I think they're like a week long each. And as you play and you can achieve certain goals, you can unlock more cosmetics for your characters. But I'm pretty sure that there aren't any microtransactions as part of it. But yeah, it was pretty lacking at the beginning. There were only 6 games when it first came out. And I liked them. I thought that they were good, and it was fun going on playing bowling against like other people online and doing sort of like an elimination style tournament.
That's cool.
But yeah, I'm really excited for more different sports to play. There was soccer too, which was basically just like Rocket League. Like the mechanics were very similar, like having a stamina bar or like a boost bar to run faster, and like you can jump and you can do all these different maneuvers and stuff to hit the balls different ways. And surprisingly, the latency was actually pretty good. But overall, I thought it was a pretty solid title.
That's great.
Any thoughts, Adriano? Nothing?
Sorry, I've been playing Marvel Snap.
Best role-playing game. I think this one's probably pretty clear. Elden Ring. Is this Live A Live? Live Alive?
Live A Live, I think is what it's called.
Live A Live?
Yeah.
Pokemon Legends, another thing I can't pronounce. Arceus. Triangle Strategy, and Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I think Elden Ring probably has this in the bag.
I would hope so.
Unless they're going to give Elden Ring Game of the Year and then, give one of these guys another one. But
spread the love around.
Yeah. Are these all Japanese games? No Western RPGs.
What did a Western RPG even come out and do extremely well?
I was going to ask that. Like,
what's the biggest Western RPG of 2020?
Well, BioWare's dead.
Elex 2.
Let's see.
Bethesda hasn't made anything in a while. I don't know if I can think of another Western RPG off the top of my head. Oh, whatchamacallit? The guys who made New Vegas. They didn't have a game come out this year. But it
would have been Outer Worlds last year, right?
Yeah.
Was that last year?
A couple years ago at this point.
Yeah.
Mercenaries Rebirth Call of the Wild Lynx. That's the one.
Which one? Sorry?
Mercenaries Rebirth Call of the Wild Lynx.
I'm unfamiliar with that.
Has anyone played that Pokemon game? I heard. I mean, I've heard a bunch of complaints about the new Pokemons that just dropped, Violet and Ruby or something, but they're in the same style as Arceus. Is that true? And Arceus is like something that's on its own. It's not really like a traditional Pokemon game. Is that correct?
Yeah, Arceus is not traditional. Scarlet and Violet are open world, similarly to Arceus. I use that. I think it's more open than Arceus because Arceus is like open areas, but it's still kind of linear for the story. But Scarlet and Violet are more like your traditional Pokemon where there are the gyms to go around and do. And I think it's open in the sense that you can go, I think to the first 6 gyms in any order or something like that. I'm not 100% sure yet. I haven't picked it up because I'm not super big into Pokemon anymore. And the reviews in terms of gameplay, polish, and graphics for Scarlet and Violet are not favorable currently.
What happened, eh?
I think it's just the fact that Game Freak has been in super crunch mode through COVID, and that was the best that they could do in the time they were given.
Well, they're also making a ton of Pokemons because Arceus just came out, and didn't another Pokemon game come out alongside it?
There was that. There's that like arena battler game similar to League,
and then I feel like the previous games had just come out. They don't do a game every year, do they?
I think there may have actually been a Pokemon release every year for the last 3 years.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it is like yearly, at least recently.
It's too much Pokemon, man.
People were excited for Arceus because it's the first where you run around in like the open world, but you also have the Pokemon are not in like little battle mini game. They're like out in the wild running around.
Yeah, I do want to actually pick it up at some point if I see it on sale, if it ever goes on sale, which maybe it won't.
If they do some like hardcore patching and updating of it, I'll probably pick it up at some point, but Pokemon hasn't been my priority for a long time.
I've been Pokemon'd out since Pokemon Go, I think.
It's been huge though. Like there was for the first time in a while, I still have friends that work at GameStop, and they had a midnight release in multiple stores for Pokemon. Last night. Yeah. I couldn't believe it. I thought midnight releases were a thing of the past, but Pokemon apparently still has that power.
That's great.
I was thinking of Sword and Shield, which came out in 2019. Pokemon Arceus came out this year, right?
February, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or January, February.
Yeah.
It was January because then Elden Ring was February.
And then Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee came out in 2018, so a year before Sword and Shield.
That was only 2018? I feel like that was so much longer ago.
I feel the same way with those ones.
Because those were pre-pandemic. It feels like it was ages ago.
Yeah, okay, you know what? That's fair. That is fair.
Yeah. So I think they need to slow down on the Pokemon, maybe.
Oh, there's a Western RPG that came out this year. Horizon Forbidden West.
Oh my god, I didn't get nominated.
Honestly, I've only ever heard people say it's good, but I didn't finish it. These are from podcasts I listen to.
I've not finished it.
It's the biggest complaint I hear about that game is that it's too long. Like it's too tedious. Like talking to people, having the same conversations everywhere you go, and they're like every conversation is more so focused on like showing you what each character's personality is rather than actually moving the story forward.
And they go on forever, and they give you conversation like trees that just keep digging deeper and deeper,
branching, and you're like, okay, I kind of want to just play the game now.
And like it has that like thing where you can like, you know, choose what dialogue you want to say, and then you click on it, and then it will run through the dialogue, and then there'll be a new one there when you're done.
Yeah.
And so it's just like endless talking to people, and I'm one of those people who wants to, you know, go through all the dialogue options, which I mostly do in most RPGs, and it's just taking the point so of too much. Long.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's fascinating. All right. Action adventure games.
What do we got in there?
Plague Tale Requiem, which I do want to get to. I still haven't finished the first game. God of War Ragnarok.
But you started it, right?
Yes. I'm so close to finishing it, and then they took it off Game Pass.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking I should just buy it on Game Pass or the Xbox app, rather.
Didn't you and I buy it on Steam?
I had purchased it for PS4, I think, ages ago. And then it came out on Game Pass, and you had bought it on Steam, right?
And it came out. So
and PS Plus.
Yeah. I canceled my PS Plus, and then I bought it on Steam, and then it came to Game Pass, but I just played the Steam one because if I owned it there, I might as well have just played it there.
Yeah, since I already own it,
Steam, and then it came out on Game Pass.
Since I already own it, and my save is on this Xbox app, but I own it on PlayStation, I kind of just want to buy it on the Xbox app to get my save. But it's still like $50.
Yeah, if you don't want to,
play it all over again.
Yeah, play it all over again. That'd probably be.
Anyway, so yeah, Plague Tale Requiem, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West. Here's the nomination for Best Action Adventure Game. Stray made a nomination.
Oh, really?
There.
Huh.
And Tunic.
Oh, that's a fucking fantastic game. Tunic is so good. It's very good.
I started playing it. I fell off it. I do want to go back though.
It's very evocative of the old Zelda games where they just drop you in and nobody tells you anything. You just start going around.
All right, I'm out.
What?
I'm out.
No, they give you it's like it though, but they slowly kind of give you stuff. They do give you a map and
you get a map. The way that they like do they reveal stuff to you in the game is you find pages of like an old game manual, and so then other like certain, it's kind of like Fez a little bit in the puzzles where like you'll get pages of this book and then it's in like a language you can't read, but then based off of context clues and then clues that you'll find on other pages that will then refer you to like, you'll be looking at like page 34 and then it'll have like a little like note in the column saying like a little clue, and then it says like page 12, and then if you go to page 12 with this like new context of this clue on another page, you kind of figure out what it means even though you can't read the words on it. And so then as you go through, and they're hidden too, like it's not like every page is on the main path, like some of them are actually like proper puzzles. It's really intriguing. It's a very intriguing game. And the combat is super solid. It reminds me of like almost like a Dark Souls light, but with a Zelda-esque top-down style adventure game. And it's there's a lot there if you want to like dig into it.
It's a very charming aesthetic. It's very whimsical in its presentation.
Big vouch for Tunic. It's a great game if you like that sort of thing.
I don't think Stray has a chance here, but Stray was a pretty unique, little fun, tiny experience.
I have a feeling Stray is going to take home something because it was so unique. I don't know if it's going to be this category, but
right. Well, it is nominated, I think, in other categories.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you have God of War in this category. I don't know. I don't know if they stand a chance here.
Do you think that Horizon's going to take home anything? Not necessarily, again, this category, but any of the categories.
I don't think so.
That's unfortunate.
Not that it's a bad game. It's completely well made. It's fun to play. I just kind of lost interest. I do want to go back eventually, but we'll see if that actually happens.
There comes a point when the gameplay loop, I find, of any single-player game becomes cumbersome.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're playing multiplayer, it's a little bit of a social thing. So you can redo the same dailies or weeklies or whatever for a while, and it's not that bad. But like going into, it'd be pretty weird, or at least I think it's weird to go into like a single-player game, a solo game, and just do the same action over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
I had kind of the same experience with the first one, honestly. Like, for as interesting as the story kind of was, I just found the first one to be too repetitive, and the gameplay wasn't like solid enough for me, even though it seemed like on paper to be the perfect formula for a game that I would enjoy.
Was it like just too clunky or something?
It was a bit clunky, and to be fair, I did play it on PC, and apparently the PC port is not super good.
Dang.
But yeah,
I think the problems with the PC port weren't necessarily the gameplay, though. It's more like a lot of performance issues and graphical issues.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
no, the performance was fine. Graphics were fine. It just felt like, I don't know. It was a pretty game to look at, but it just felt like I got bored about 3/4 of the way through. Even though so many people would say that, like, if you were an RPG lover, you'll love Horizon. I actually played it on PlayStation like a long time ago, and I played it a little bit and just didn't get a good like feeling from it right away, and stopped playing. And then playing it on Steam was actually my second time trying to play it. I don't know what it was. It just felt like there was too much like busy work to do or something. I don't know.
I like the world they created, and I do like the gameplay. Actually, I think it's pretty fun. I just struggled with the second game though, because I just felt like I was getting my ass kicked in every single fight, and just could not figure out what to do. But yeah, anyway, best mobile game. Doing this for you, Adriano.
Ooh,
Apex Legends Mobile, Diablo Immortal.
Didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, Diablo Immortal, Genshin Impact, Marvel Snap.
Fuck yeah!
Wait, did Genshin only come out this year on mobile? That can't be right.
I'll look it up.
Yeah, I'm not sure. And then Tower of Fantasy.
Ryan's supposed to have a crash.
Yeah. I think I know Adriano's choice, and it's probably my choice for this as well.
Yeah.
Tell us why you love Marvel Snap.
Because it is an incredibly well-designed, super fun game. It is really approachable. It takes no time to get in and out of matches. Like I just won one right now. Yeah, that's right. CJ Perry, get the fuck out of here. Victory.
Oh, you're calling him out on the podcast.
Yeah.
Jesus, shout outs.
Honestly, depending on what you even want to look for in a game, like you want something quick, this meets it. You want something where you can have deck dynamic and really fuck around with combinations, this has it. You want to be a collector in card games, which is what I am, this is it. Because like I want to meet the genius team or the person behind just like this concept or whoever pushed this forward, because this is an insanely a well-designed game, and even from a marketing standpoint, it's just smart. Like it's called Marvel Snap, and they're obviously I'm assuming that they're playing into the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe, the snap, which caused something between Infinity War and Endgame, but they're also playing into the current MCU releases, where, this is the second season in Canada. They had 3 seasons worldwide before us, but this is the second season in Canada, and they started off with a Spider-Man symbiote season last one, and now they're doing a Black Panther Wakanda season. So it's like, okay, so now you're cross marketing. I can absolutely see them doing something where they're going to start introducing cards or seasons based on the MCU schedule. So when something new comes out, they'll probably work in cards for that or do a season based on that. When the next Moon Knight comes out, they'll start probably working in that stuff there. It is really quick to play. Like, I have played games on the way from my car to my office and reverse, or I have to walk across a hospital on the other side. Guess what? I'm whipping out my phone, and
that's insane to me.
It is so fast. I'm playing like 2 or 3 games on the way to wherever I have to go. The game is 3 lanes. Your decks are only 12 cards, so it's not very intimidating to have to dismantle or rework decks. Like, I remember when I did a Hearthstone deck. It's like, well, this is a whole day process. I have to decide what I want to approach. What do I want to do? And then start big and work my way small, or start small and work my way big, and then test run it, see what doesn't work. And it's a very intimidating thing. And you only have like 18 slots in Hearthstone. And here in Marvel Snap, you have 20, but decks are only 12 cards. You only have 6 turns. Cumulatively, you have 21 energy the entire game, if I add that up correctly. So it's really quick. It's very snappy, no pun intended. And it's like, it's Portrait. Like, it's designed to be played with one hand. So you can do other things and just play this game. Like, I'll wake up in the morning and I'm walking around doing whatever, and I'm just running a game of Snap, and I have it with me. It is. I cannot tell you how good this game is.
Yeah, you know what I think makes it so good is the speed of it all. Mm-hmm. It feels like you're doing the last few moves in the chess game every single game you play. You don't have to do the whole lead up where you're making these big old gambits through the entire match. It's like you're just doing those final moves and trying to win in those last few seconds.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really fascinating that way.
Yeah, and they have season passes. They have the only thing that you can't get for free in any capacity are exclusive cosmetics for those seasons. Even the cards in which are exclusive for that season, like Spider-Man, I think Miles Morales Spider-Man, and Black Panther so far, they're exclusive only for the season and the season after in which you would have had to buy them. But then leapfrogging one more over, they will then be opened up for lottering in for the rest of the public.
Which you do by playing for free, right? Which you can do by playing for free.
Yeah. By you doing collector levels, you will, in theory, eventually lottery it, because you will keep on getting a free card, and by time your library will eventually be filled out to the point where you will get everything. Sorry, after to find but a card from each player. Okay. So I'm just reading the spaces. Let's put this here. So.
You playing in real time right here?
Yeah, I am. I've been playing it since we hit record. So, even the collector levels, the cards are super nice. They're beautiful to look at. And what you're doing is you're leveling up a card, and then when it gets to the max level, it actually splits, and then we'll give you your maxed out one, and then it'll give you a reset version of it, but a slightly different version of that card. And then you get to level that. You get to level up that one all over again. Yeah. I'll show you a screenshot of my Ant-Man afterwards. But then there's also just other completely different variants. There's like pixel variants, baby variants, whatever. And then those, every time you max those up, it will then split. And there's also then 4 or 5 variants of each variant. So you can just have an entire library of cards, and you use the one that you like the most. You don't touch the ones you don't like. And there's no rarity. There's nothing. Your chances of getting any card are no different from getting other card. They're all common, and your rarity is based on how much you play it.
And do each of the ones of the same type all function the same?
So like all the same Groots or all the same Odins?
All the same Groots, yeah.
Yeah, all the same Groots will always do the same thing. Any variation or any sort of level, they'll always do the same thing. You can't
That's cool.
You can't out level your opponent. So it's let's put that there. It is great. It is just what I needed after a year break of Hearthstone.
I will say, if you're going to give it a try, get to the point where you can snap, because that is really where it kind of clicks. I wasn't enjoying it as much as Marty and Adriano was at first, and then once you kind of get to that snapping level and you've played enough games and you understand the intricacies of it, then it really kind of takes off, and then you play all night and then you wake up tired, and so
yeah, I'm just going to snap right now, see if this works. And I'm just passing decks back and forth. Marty's sending decks in. I'm sending decks out. I made one for Ryan.
I need a new deck, by the way.
I'll make a new deck. And then like I'm getting ones from Braden and Sean. I'm using Sean's Guardians deck right now, which is kind of hit and miss for me. It's getting better. But I have a pile of cards in which I unlocked, which I want to experiment with, that I want to just try. I have a Mystique. I have, actually, let me go to my collection right now. I'll read you off some of these bonker cards that I have.
Oh yeah, look at this! Like an Infinity Split Ant-Man right now.
Yeah. So here, actually, I'll go to my Ant-Man. Ant-Man, where are you? Ant-Man.
And what's cool about the 3D cards too is that it uses the gyroscope in your phone. Mm-hmm. So as you twist and move your phone around, you can see the 3D image move on screen.
That's very clever.
And this doesn't happen just when you're looking at the card in full screen. It's like when it's actually on the field in a match or in your hand, you can move your phone and you see all these little characters shifting around.
Mm-hmm. For me, when I'm at home, I'm playing on I'm playing on Steam, so I don't get the full same effect. But
oh my god, I didn't even think about that.
What, playing on Steam?
No, when you get 3D on a screen that doesn't move, what happens?
You can grab
grab your monitor.
You can like grab the card in the center.
You can actually drag the card around.
You can actually drag it around and do it.
Just grab your monitor and move your monitor all around.
Yeah, because it has a gyroscope installed. Yeah.
So did you split Ant-Man right now?
No,
Ryan?
Should I?
So do it
in real time. Here?
Yeah, do it real time.
Good lord, trying to have a production going here.
Okay.
So then they gave you
2 Ant-Mans.
Yeah, so it gave you like a rainbow back, right?
Yeah.
It's
like holographic.
Yeah, it's holographic. So now you have a holographic base Ant-Man, which then you can level up again. And then the other one will remain as is. That one won't be touched anymore. And then when you get that one up, that one will remain as holographic epic or whatever.
How deep does this go?
There's about 4 or 5 of them. There's like a sparkling, there's a hex sparkle, there's a glitter one.
This is gorgeous.
Yeah. I watched a video where a guy did Angela, the variants and the upgrades, and he just showed his monitor of his screen of just all the Angela variants, and it was just beautiful to look at.
I'm putting this card in my new deck.
Yeah, so as somebody who like my favorite part of Hearthstone was just flipping through my digital book and just looking at my cards. This is scratching that itch. I almost wish there was a way to do like a proper export of your favorite cards, to say like export this as a JPEG or export it as a wallpaper, and I could tell my phone to rotate through them on a daily basis because they're nice to look at.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So where is my flag? So I made a deck called Flagged where I dump cards that I want to look at later because there's no flagged or star system yet. But Mystique
what is going on here?
Mystique, on reveal, if the last card you played has ongoing ability, this card gains it. So you have a Carnage, right, Ryan? You've used Carnage?
I don't know if I have him, but I know what he does.
Yeah, he destroys every card in the area and gain +2 for each one destroyed.
Yeah.
Venom is, on reveal, destroy your other cards at this location, add their power to this card. So if you can buff up shit really early on with the Guardians, like Star-Lord or Rocket Raccoon, you can then use Venom, take them out, get all that, and then fill up the field again.
Man.
Yeah.
So, Game of the Year, Marvel Snap.
Yeah, I'd vote for it.
You can vote for it on thegameawards.com.
Play Marvel Snap, everyone.
All right, let's get moving here because I think we're running out of time.
Genshin Impact was released on September 28th, 2020 on Android, iOS, iPadOS, Windows, and PS4.
That's interesting then. Maybe just because it gets major updates?
I'm not sure. I've never played the game at all.
One last thing about the mobile games, though.
What market was it released for that year? Like, was it a specific market or was it worldwide?
I just looked at the little chart on Wikipedia, so I'm not sure.
I do find it funny that you have Genshin Impact and Tower of Fantasy in this category. From just looking, I played a little bit of Genshin Impact, but looking at the screenshots of Tower of Fantasy, they look very similar. All right. Best performance. Horizon Forbidden West, Ashley Birch. A Plague Tale Requiem, Charlotte McBurney. God of War Ragnarok, Christopher Judge. Immortality, Manon Gage, and God of War Ragnarok, Sunny Soljic. So I got a small problem with the Game Awards here because now maybe they never had this, but they don't have like the traditional, best female performance, best male performance. I understand putting them all in one place, but now it's like, well, now you used to give away 2 awards, you only give away 1, so it reduces the chance of someone getting an award for performance. But that's my only small complaint there. I'd have to say Christopher Judge, though. Did he win last year? Does anyone remember? For God of War in 2018?
I think he won that. Yeah, I remember him being up on stage for something. I think that was it.
Because it's really good.
It is really good.
It's really subtle, too, some of his performances in God of War. So, no disrespect to Ashley Birch. I know she is a fantastic voice actor, but not for Horizon, I don't think. It's a very kind of dry, character, maybe. Maybe it's more the character than the actual acting.
Yeah, I don't love Aloy as a character. I feel like that might be part of the problem for the game for me, is that I just don't feel like I can relate with her at all.
Mm-hmm. And then Sunny Soljic, they had issues with recording him because his voice was changing. It took him so long to record that his voice had also, changed in that time.
It's going through changes.
Yeah. Best narrative. Plague Tale Requiem, Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, and Immortality. Now, Marty brought up he doesn't know if Elden Ring would win Best Narrative just because it's delivered so uniquely.
Indirectly?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw an interesting video on that today. There's a pretty well known FromSoft YouTuber called Zully the Witch who put out a video that was basically saying, like, just because it's not force-fed to you doesn't mean the game doesn't have a really compelling narrative. It's just that the style of storytelling is indirect rather than direct. Like, every time you come across a character, they don't tell you their whole backstory and why they're important to the story and blah, blah, blah. Like, all the information is there. It's just you have to actively go seek it out.
Right.
So I guess a lot of people were having on social media, were having a bit of an extreme reaction to Elden Ring being nominated, being like, I beat that whole game. I didn't know what the fuck was going on. And people are like, well, that's totally on you. Like, you could have figured it out, but you chose not to. Like, so I don't know. Like, I can see why people would have problems with it. But at the same time, it's not that the story's not there. It's that you haven't looked for it.
Yeah. And it's also cool just to be dropped into a world. If I got picked up and dropped into some other universe, I wouldn't know what's going on. People wouldn't explain things immediately to me. And so it very much makes it feel like a fantasy game, where it's just like this world that has so much history and depth to it. And you're just kind of bewildered, trying to figure it all out. It's a unique experience.
And it's like Tunic, right? Where it's there. It's just harder to figure it out. But hard doesn't mean bad.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean good, but it doesn't mean bad.
And like the Bloodborne like universe is, some of my favorite narrative, I guess you could say, It's such
Also
a cool thing
indirect.
to learn about.
Yep.
But God of War will probably win.
Probably.
Yeah.
Just
I
because
haven't
it's so
played
in your
Plague Tale
face,
yet,
it's
but-
literally why you're going place to place in those type of games.
Yeah.
But like, there's obviously good storytelling in even something like a Bethesda environmental storytelling with holotapes or this and that. There's good stories told in that, or going through terminals. If you're in a Fallout game, you're in some like broken down office and you find like a crazy conspiracy in this particular office and stuff like that. There's even good stories told there, but it's just a lot of players will miss it, unfortunately.
Yeah. All right, and then finally we'll go to the game of the year. A lot of these are repeats, I find, just because there's not a heck of a lot of major games that come out in a year. But A
Good
Plague Tale
things get
Requiem,
nominated for multiple categories, right?
yeah, A Plague Tale Requiem, Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, Stray, and Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Now these last two I was surprised to see.
Yeah, what? Stray, interesting.
Yeah, and then even Xenoblade, which I hadn't really heard much about. Now maybe it's bigger in other territories, but those are fascinating. I just think hands down though, Elden Ring has this, and I would bet a Panzo on it.
Let's say
I'll take that bet.
Really?
Wait,
you don't
but
think
You don't think Elden Ring is going to win then? Because I think it's going to win, so I can't take any part of that bet.
I think you misunderstand my motivation here. It just gets us to it just gets us to Panzerottis.
Son of a bitch.
Whether I pay for it or not, we're getting to Panzerottis.
Have you ever explicitly stated what a Panzerotti is?
for the people
Is
who
it
might
a
not know?
universal thing, or do people not know what a
Calzone
Panzerotti
might
is?
be more American.
Americanized, yeah.
Yeah,
So
Basically like a folded over pizza.
Yeah, pretty much.
a gigantic pizza pocket.
a gigantic,
That's a
but
good way
yeah,
to put it.
that you don't microwave or
Yeah,
Prepared by the
professionally
restaurant.
made.
I just don't see any way Elden Ring doesn't win. Just because of the sensation that it was, the amount of online talk and people just raving about this game was almost unprecedented.
I mean, like, just on a personal note myself, it's pretty... Tim helped me a whole bunch, but it's still, like, unprecedented that I would complete a FromSoft game, to be fair.
He helped you help yourself.
Yeah.
I
So
merely
sort of-
led the horse to water, but I did not make it drink.
But no, like, Elden Ring was really good. I really liked just running... Like, the world for me by far was... Like, I was just talking to you, Ryan, about how like, these open world games these days, a lot of them still feel like they've just made a big map. And then they're like, holy crap, we need to fill this thing up with stuff to do. So they make a bunch of little mini games and little activities to run around and do. And it feels very disconnected. But Elden Ring is very different. If you do not go, for example, there's a little tiny bridge that goes into a city. If you do not go below that, there's a whole bunch of stuff down there that you can miss. And big things that are like pretty difficult, pretty long. And you could just completely miss that stuff. And that's like the same as what would happen almost in real life. Whereas like if you miss out on something huge, you missed out on something huge. It just, the world felt so much more connected to not necessarily the narrative, just because I had no idea what the hell was going on. Speaking of narrative, but it like felt a lot more realistic that if I went into a random corner and that corner was significant to the world for some reason, and there was a big castle there or a tomb or whatever, or a cave, then there was that. There wasn't a quest marker taking me there. No one told me to go there. I just like ran around and was like, oh, like what's that on the map? There wasn't a marker on it. I just saw it on like the old timey kind of paper map that you have. And I went over there. Or sometimes I didn't even have the map of that area and I just wandered into a little cave or something. It's so much more of an organic experience. And I think it really, hopefully, I hope it pushes open world games further, because like side stuff in open world games is killing me these days. I just like, I don't even really do it unless I need to do it for some reason. It's just boring in most cases.
I feel like the big piece there is the organic, and that's what I think Breath of the Wild really made standardized for open world games now, is that if you are going to have side objectives, it needs to be two things. It needs to be organic and it needs to be worth it. And that's what Elden Ring, I think, nailed both times, was that you don't get a huge quest log that you have to go through and like mark the 5 objectives on your map that you want to go and do, like in every MMO out there. Like, there needs to be some thing enticing you to go off to the side, and then the reward has to be worth it, and it has to feel like you've gone there purely out of your own desire and you were able to complete it. Not that it was easy, but that it was completely like doable, and you know, you found it all on your own. Like, it wasn't like, oh, follow this big objective. I think that's the biggest draw of Elden Ring.
It speaks to its level design a lot too, because sometimes or several times I felt when I was playing it alone, I kind of felt lost. Like, I didn't really know where I was going, and I was like, oh, I'm just going to go over here. And sometimes I wasn't even following an actual path, like a road in the game. I was just running around. And then I remember I just stumbled upon one of the big points of interest in the game, Volcano Manor. I just stumbled upon that. And I remember, Tim, you and I had talked about it, because there's a way to just kind of like get teleported there. Mm-hmm. And like, we had talked about doing that, and I just like, I went on a completely unrelated path. Like, you know, we were done that session. I went on another session alone, and I just ended up finding it. And that's like super cool that it's just that organic. You just go out there and you just find stuff. And it's not like, well, you know, I'm not going to go to the bottom right corner of the map because, you know, there's no quest markers, and therefore there's probably nothing there, which is really unfortunate in modern games. I get it, because, you know, you're trying to be respectful of people's time as well, where, you know, some people don't want to be stuck in a game forever, or if they only have a couple hours a night to play or something, they don't want to be stuck in the tutorial for like 2 or 3 days and then stuck in the, you know, chapter 1 for 2 weeks and stuff like that. So I guess it's kind of a push and pull in that way, but Elden Ring just felt really organic in how it led you around, just with how the world kind of was shaped.
Yeah, it just feels good to play. It's similar to Breath of the Wild, where you can just boot it up for a couple minutes and you can play, and then that's it. And then you can close it out, and you have probably accomplished at least something.
Yeah, and like what's cool about it too is it brought back, like in a lot of RPGs nowadays, at least in my opinion, like there's usually like the best item or a certain specific build, usually in a multiplayer game, where it'll be like, you know, you need this armor, these skills, and you're basically almost following a strategy guide, because, you know, creating the build yourself works up to an extent, but unless you've sat there and researched and figured it out yourself, you will be so far behind in the amount of damage or your survivability or whatever, and the game will get so difficult that it becomes, okay, like, this is not fun anymore. I'm going to look this up. And I'm going to figure out how to do this. But then it becomes this weird, like, after you do it for a while, you think, I'm just following a template. Like, I'm just following a guide of my character. Then I'm just going through a linear story. Like, it just feels weird. It feels very templated. But with Elden Ring, it's like, I decided at one point, like, there's the tree sentinel right at the beginning. And he was sort of like the big first challenge that I went after. And I did it at a much lower level than I should have, and eventually did it after 15 tries or something. And then I was just like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm dressing like a tree sentinel. It's like a trophy. Like, I've killed this big bastard. That's it. I'm dressing like a tree sentinel. And you can dress like a tree sentinel. I was a tree sentinel the whole damn game.
I'm pretty sure you can dress as anything you fight, right?
I think so.
Most humanoid things, yeah.
Yeah.
So
not great. Some crazy like alien baby. Like, yeah, you can't dress like that, but. Adriano, thoughts on Game of the Year?
Besides Marvel Snap,
have you played any of these?
No, I don't think I have.
Dang.
I was really hoping you would be like, you'd have completed, you know, Xenoblade Chronicles like 4 times or something. That'd be fucking awesome.
Just like, surprise you guys.
Because none of us have played it, so it'd be awesome if you're just the expert now on like Xenoblade Chronicles 3 for us.
No, I can't say I have. So I wish all the nominees best of luck.
All right, that'll be on December 8th, and then I guess after that we'll kind of talk about the winners and all the new game announcements that come with the Game Awards as well. I think even new consoles were announced at the Game Awards, right? Wasn't the Xbox Series X announced there?
Series X was, yeah.
And am I crazy, or wasn't The Last of Us also announced at the Game Awards way back in the day? A Game Awards, not the Game Awards, because the Game Awards is only a few years old. But
I feel like that might also be true.
Back at the old Spike TV Video Game Awards, VGAs.
No, I don't think it was that old. Wasn't it Last of Us 2 was announced there? That's not that old.
I don't know, because
wasn't it the trailer where
the current incarnation of the Game Awards is only like 7 or 8 years old?
Yeah, but wasn't the trailer Ellie was like in a room somewhere, and then like Joel comes in?
Oh yeah, she's playing the guitar.
But I don't know whether that was a debut of the trailer or whether it was a debut of Last of Us 2, to be fair.
Let me take a look here. Doop-a-doo. Following its announcement in December 2011. It doesn't tell me where it was first shown off, though.
I do remember people freaking out about that trailer, though.
Like about the second one or the
in
first
the crowd?
One?
The second one, if memory serves. Unless
yeah.
I'm like I so many damn stages, like, you know, it could have been at someone else's presentation.
Right. There is a lot of announcements for games, eh?
Yeah.
All right, anyway. A mystery that will never be solved. The Spike Video Game Awards is where The Last of Us was announced.
The first Last of Us or the second one?
The First of Us, yeah. The first one. The Last of Us was announced on December 10th, 2011 at the Spike Video Game Awards alongside his debut trailer. 2011. Woo, doggy.
That game does feel old, though.
Well, it came out in 2013.
Came out. The year Skyrim came out.
2011, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
What a time period. All right, that's it for the Game Awards. Let's move on to the stories.
This one's crazy.
Yeah, speaking of consoles, studios are asking Xbox to drop Xbox Series S requirement. Devs say the system has become an albatross. This is from GameSpot, as reported by VGC. Visual effects artist Ian McClure responded to a post from Jeff Gertzman, formerly of Giant Bomb, who said he believes the Series S's holding back next-gen games argument seems really broken to me. McClure, who worked on Xbox Series X and S title I Am Fish, responded to this to explain that a number of developers actually do want the Series S requirement dropped. And he said, quote, "It might sound broken, but the reason you are hearing it a lot right now is because many developers have been sitting in meetings for the past year desperately trying to get Series S launch requirements dropped. Studios have been through one development cycle where Series S turned out to be an albatross around the neck of production. And now that games are firmly being developed with new consoles in mind, teams do not want to repeat the process." End quote. So, Matt, you've kind of been talking about this a lot. You don't like that, you know, there's still so many games that are also coming out on PS4 or Xbox One, because you want to see how these consoles can truly be used. So what do you think about hearing that, you know, even developers want to drop something like the Series S, which is technically a next-gen console?
Well, I was going to say that, like, they are keeping the old gen, let's say, intact. The PS4 generation, which includes the Xbox One. There's a lot of games that are coming out. Even Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 came out on both, cross-gen bundle. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, it's bizarre to me that the devs, if this story holds true, that the devs would be against the Series S, when the Series S, as far as I understand it, is far beyond the baseline Xbox One. If we think about it, yeah, there was a couple of different Xbox Ones. Xbox One, there was a slim version, and then there was the Xbox One X, which was the very powerful version. But when you make a game for the Xbox One platform, you have to make it with even the launch model in mind. You can't say, oh, launch models can't play this. That's not how the platform works. So, I mean, to me, this is kind of lunacy, actually, because I mean, unless I'm misunderstanding the power of the Series S and I'm overestimating its power, this would be similar to a PlayStation 4 and a PlayStation 4 Pro. I didn't hear anyone complaining about that. Why are they complaining about this? And the one reason why I say this is because I'm not saying it's easy to do this, to be clear, but the Series S does not run at the same, it doesn't run 4K. It doesn't run, you can easily turn things down. Like, these devs are making games that are very typically available on PC as well. And PC has a graphics slider. And multiple of them, obviously. I'm simplifying for the sake of the show, but you can go in and turn down the textures. You can turn down your resolution, of which obviously the Series S can't handle the maximum resolution that the Series X can. And so to me, this is kind of lunacy in that I'm not saying it's easy to make a slightly lesser version of the game, but when games are largely supporting the very first Xbox One and the very first launch day PlayStation 4s, and they're saying that the Series S is the thing that's holding them back, to me, that's lunacy. Because even the resolution, I would say, again, not a game dev, but from having played PC games a lot of over the years, that if my game is having trouble, I turn down, the textures, I turn down this, I turn down that. But then I also turn down the resolution sometimes in a desperate move to try to get it to work. And oftentimes that has helped quite a bit. Driving less pixels, it helps the GPU out, obviously. So this thing's already doing less. And so to me, I don't know if this is that valid of a complaint. It's like, maybe they have to make another version of the game and it's annoying. But we wouldn't see this same complaint if an Xbox Series X Pro came out. We wouldn't be like, oh my God, like, the Series X Pro. Like, what do we do with this? And again, maybe I'm overestimating the power of this thing, but
one fascinating thing I remember hearing back when the Xbox One X was being touted as the most powerful console in history, right? And it was more powerful than the PS4 Pro, right? Mm-hmm. What I heard from some developers, not personally, but what I've read about developers saying, was that oftentimes they'll develop to the lowest common denominator. So right. PS4 Pro being the weaker system compared to the One X, they would just make it work on the PS4 Pro, and then you'd get that same kind of version on the One X. And so you weren't actually getting the benefits of a more powerful system, even though everyone was like, the console war, everyone's fighting over having the more powerful console. So
what's interesting,
I don't think it's as easy as just turning down the resolution on the Series S, because that's a completely different SoC, isn't it?
I think so.
So they must be having to do more work than is necessary.
Well, the thing with it is like they make a lot of these games, like I said, available on PC, and the PC doesn't have a piece of hardware to develop for. So, like, I get it. Absolutely. You want to make a next gen only game finally, like you're dropping the PS4, because even the part of the story you mentioned that games are being developed with the next gen in mind at this point, or the current gen, I suppose, in mind. And so now the lowest common denominator is the Series S. But I mean, they could, I would imagine, make the same type of changes that they do to PC games. If they can't run, textures at this resolution, they can run it at this resolution instead. If there's a crowd of people that's bigger on the Series X and on the PlayStation 5, maybe it's smaller on the Series S. Like, maybe the problem is that they won't do that, or they can't do that. And I might be, oversimplifying.
I know. I wish you kind of explained more, because I think we definitely need more detail on this, right?
Because
we need more information as to what's going on and why it's a pain in the ass to develop for the Series S.
Because why were their consoles put out, or sorry, why were their updates put out for the Pro versions of the consoles, the One X and the PlayStation 4 Pro. I understand you just had that thing where you said the PlayStation 4 Pro was the weaker of the high tier, and therefore they made it for the weakest of the high tier. But they still made effectively two versions of the game work. They made the Pro version, let's say, and then the baseline version.
I think this might be the difference, is that between PS4 Pro and PS4, it was basically the same version of the game, but with higher textures, and that was it. Maybe faster frame rate, right? Same on the Xbox side. I think in this case, they had to develop a game for Xbox One, right? Or I guess maybe they code to Xbox Series X at this point. I don't know. Or no, because they still need it to run on the Xbox One, right?
Xbox
so they're developing
One?
Yeah. Because games are still coming out on Xbox One, are they not?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But like, if we were to take that out, because he's saying that, games want to be made. There's a section in the story.
No, but I'm describing the issue.
Right.
So they had to develop a game for Xbox One and for the next gen console, so Xbox Series X. But now they also have to make a version for Xbox Series S. Whereas I think on PlayStation, they just have to make a game for PS4 and for PS5. I think that Series S is must have more development time than, a PS4 Pro to PS4 or an Xbox Series or Xbox One X to an Xbox One S.
But if they're keeping the Xbox One in mind, like the original launch day ones, if they're keeping those in mind, and then they have a Pro version of that generation, so they have an Xbox One, and then let's say an Xbox One X version. That Xbox One X version, I believe, is what runs commonly on the Series S.
It might not be, though. That might be the thing. That might not actually be what's happening.
Maybe it isn't. You're right. Like, more details would be nice in this particular case.
Yeah. Gotham Knights, apparently, they recently confirmed to run at a maximum of 30 FPS. They seem to suggest that it was in part due to the fact that the game was releasing on the Series S. So it somehow is affecting the game. Although that game has some really weird technical issues.
Well, one telling thing will be, I think, and it's a kind of a time will tell thing, but if and when we see PlayStation 5 exclusive games, if they take off and far surpass Xbox Series S and X exclusive games, then maybe we'll see like the true nature of the disparity between the two consoles. But if PlayStation 5 games, because PlayStation 5 has the two versions, but it's just basically disk drive or no disk drive. If the PlayStation 5 does not have if it does not have games that are launched exclusively on it that are way more advanced in some computing way than an Xbox Studios game released at the same time, let's say, then maybe the disparity is being exaggerated here. Like, is the Xbox Series S a problem, or is it an inconvenience for a developer? Is basically, I think, what that will entail. Are we going to have amazing, let's call them next-gen experience, like true next-gen, where we're dropping the PS4 experience on PlayStation 5, and you can't get that level of fidelity on the Xbox Series platform because of the S, then sure, then the disparity is showing through.
Well, based on what the Gotham Knights developer said, that it can only run at 30 FPS on next-gen consoles, and he's saying it was due to the Series S. That sounds like it's a problem rather than an inconvenience.
The issue there is that Gotham Knights has a lot of problems, like you're saying.
Yeah.
So, like,
even on PC, you can't get it much past 60.
That's the thing, right? And so, at that point, it's sort of like I would like my baseline test personally to be a game that, like, is generally received well, that has good performance and whatever. And then we can see, like, hey, this is a problem on the Series S. Like, it's holding it, you can tell it's holding it back, not due to some other technical problem.
Yeah. Thoughts, Tim, Adriano? I don't think I heard much from you either.
I don't really have much to add, honestly.
Right, that's fine.
You guys seem to have covered a lot of it.
Okay. Final story for the week. Blizzard makes a major change to its biggest games in China. That's from GameSpot. Blizzard Entertainment has announced that it is suspending most of its games in China in the coming months due to the company's deal with NetEase reaching an end. The gaming giant said in a news release that its deal with NetEase ends on January 23rd, 2023. And at that time, titles like World of Warcraft, Hearthstone, Overwatch, Diablo 3, Heroes of the Storm, Warcraft 3 Reforged, and Diablo 3 will be taken offline. Diablo Immortal will stay up as it's covered under a separate deal between Blizzard and NetEase. Blizzard and NetEase started their license deal for games in 2008, but the two companies failed to reach a deal to renew the agreement, Blizzard said in a statement. Blizzard said it couldn't come up to terms with NetEase for the deal that would be consistent with Blizzard's operating principles and commitments to players and employees. Blizzard president Mike Ybarra said the company is exploring alternatives to bring the affected games back to players in China in the future. And then Simon Zhu, the president of global investment and partnerships for NetEase, reacted to the news in a statement on LinkedIn. He said that there is more to the story. He says, quote, "One day when what has happened behind the scenes could be told, developers and gamers will have a whole new level of understanding of how much damage a jerk can make," end quote. This is a pretty big deal, I think, actually. You know, a lot of these companies want China's market because it's so massive. And I'm curious what Microsoft thinks of this, given that they're purchasing Blizzard.
That's a lot of games off. That's a lot of games going offline too.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine working on a character in World of Warcraft for the lifetime of World of Warcraft, and then having the just be like, yeah, we're shutting her down.
I didn't think about that, actually.
And for sure that's happened with MMOs, but
I wonder if and when the deal with Microsoft goes through, if Microsoft will be in a position to renegotiate the deal and get it going again.
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if they probably would. You know,
yeah.
I think definitely Microsoft would want, you know, to be in that market with their brand new, very expensive purchase.
I like Blizzard that Immortal's staying up.
Yeah, Blizzard has been. I don't know. There's just a lot of odd decisions over at Blizzard and
completely shitting the bed.
Yeah, what happened, man? Holy cow!
Acquisition.
And according, if we're to believe this, the president of global investment here for NetEase, he's saying how much damage a jerk can make. So clearly, it was someone they just got pissed off at or something. Someone at Blizzard.
I feel like there's a lot of reason to be angry with people at Blizzard, though, like for employees.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for the employees, sure, but this is guy's like a partnership who, you know, is making money off of publishing the games in China. Anyway, that's it.
And that's the news.
That's the news. Moving on to what we're playing. Tim Spence, what have you been playing this week?
2 Worlds.
Oh, God. All right, next.
All right.
No, is that is that the only thing?
2 Worlds 2.
This is awesome. I love that you're playing the 2 Worlds games.
Oh, my Lord.
I went back. I tried playing the first one again on stream this week. Yesterday, actually, I played it for a little bit. I tried to do the single player.
Right.
It's just too slow, I think. It feels like playing an MMO by yourself. Like it's very grindy. It feels like you're playing a game that was designed for multiplayer. The world's too big with too little in it. And to be fair, this game came out in 2007. So like I can kind of see
no excuse.
The parts where, well, like, yeah, I agree with you to an extent.
No, I'm joking.
I can, but it's legitimate what you're saying. Like Oblivion came out the year before and it didn't have those issues, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like there were some good ideas in 2 Worlds and some in 2 Worlds 2 as I've played it more recently, but the execution was wrong. And it's a shame because I would love to see, that's kind of the thing that I dislike about playing a lot of fantasy RPGs these days is that like they all function off the same core ideas. Like no one's trying anything different anymore. And And if they do try something different, it's usually not necessarily like mechanic wise. Like fundamentally changing up the way that spells work, having them on like a card based system rather than just like you learn a spell, you learn a spell, you learn a spell. It gets better as you level up, you know, or like maybe it's got some very basic like spell crafting, like the spell crafting system in Two Worlds 2 is still card based, but it's like you have like a base effect card and then you have a modification cards, and different combinations of modification cards change what that spell does. And it's not that you get duplicates of cards to make say you have like a firebolt spell, which is just like a fire base card and then a damage modifier card. And then maybe like a homing card. And now you've got a homing fireball spell. And that's how you make that.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And like, maybe it's a bit convoluted where people would rather just be like, if I'm making a mage, I just want to know my spells and then just be able to cast them. And like, that's fair. There are a million RPGs where it's like that. But I want to see like what other creative takes people can have on how you achieve the objectives of an RPG. And like, I think that's probably why I've been a fan of Nintendo for so long, is that they're always thinking outside the box, even with their big IPs, sometimes for better, sometimes for worse. Like with the Mario RPG series, that the Paper Mario games are just kind of trash now. But at least they're trying different things. And like, you don't find new fun ideas without sorting through the bad first, right? So, that's why competition is so important, is seeing what other people are doing and building off of it and iterating and making everything better for everyone else, you know? And usually, thankfully for us, none of us are in development, but for us as consumers, we're the ones who get to enjoy the highs and avoid the lows, right? So, I don't know. I guess that's just my like fantasy game RPG rant, but it's been really interesting going back and playing older RPGs that like weren't super well received at the time of their release, and looking at them now through the lens of like hindsight, you know, more than 10 years later, and seeing like what they were going for. Like I can see what the sort of like the ideas were leading up to, but just the execution being not good enough, and it kind of falling flat. But it's been fun to like play with other people, right? I feel like the thing with any game is, even if it's a bad game, it can become a lot of fun if you've got someone else to enjoy it with. And that's what we've been doing on Wednesdays. But aside from that, I played, I think, because I wasn't on the podcast last week, so I started and finished BioShock, the first one, which I'd never played before. And I can definitely see why that game is so well received. It was a lot of fun to play through. And even though I was streaming it and kind of missing a lot of the narration, because a lot of the story of that game is shared through audio logs that you find around the world. And I missed a lot of the narration, but I really enjoyed the main through line of the main story. And I'm excited to see what's different, what's better, what's worse in BioShock 2, because I've also never played that either.
Would you kindly? I thought it was funny with Atlas, because when I started hearing his like voice, I was like, this is a terrible accent. It sounds like an American putting on a really bad like Irish accent. And then it's sort of, there's like almost like a story reason for that. I don't know. Is it too early to talk about BioShock spoilers? Probably not. That game's pretty old now.
I have not played it.
So it's a pretty good there's a pretty good story elements in that game. So I won't make any spoiler reveals, but I thought it was funny with because the first time I heard his voice, I was like, that sounds like that's a terrible accent. Like who did they get to voice this guy? This is not very good. But it all works out in the end, which is funny. But yeah, BioShock is very solid. I don't know why necessarily I never got into it, because again, it's like one of those pseudo RPG element kind of shooter action games. That's like right up my alley. I really enjoyed it. And it surprised me at the sheer number of like the different, well, first of all, the different like plasmids that you can get. I didn't know there were so many different plasmid effects in the game, which are basically, they function as like your spells, you could say, your abilities that are non-gun related. And then there are tonics, which are basically perks that change up the way your guns, your wrench, your hacking, your defensive abilities, and your plasmids work. So you can really do a lot of different builds in that game. And there was one of the people that I've been chatting with for a while online that had played through BioShock back in the day, and they really enjoy it. And they said they had recently played BioShock and did a wrench-only playthrough. And there are a lot of like cards that you can get, or not cards, but like perk basically, that are wrench related. And I was surprised at that. And the more that I played through the game and found more cards, I was like, oh, they're basically like begging you to do a wrench only run. Like there are so many cards that are relevant to the wrench. That's really interesting. Because like in a game like that, where it's clearly designed around like the shooting gameplay, the style of game really changes when your entire combat experience is getting up close and personal. So it's cool. But that's pretty much been my last 2 weeks.
What did you do with the little sisters?
I saved them all.
Yeah. Yep.
Got, I think, the most popular ending. But it's pretty heartwarming. It's a good ending. It's like probably one of the most iconic endings in all of gaming, I would say, is the saving the little sisters ending of BioShock 1. But
are you going to Mass Effect this? Are you going to like do them all, like try to get through every single one?
Yeah, that was the plan, was to because I played BioShock Infinite. For whatever reason, I like bought it like a couple years after it came out, and I was like, oh, I never played the first two, but you can probably play this one without having played those. And I played it a little bit, and I think it was just the fact that like it's like Doom, where there's no aim down sight. It's just run around. It's a run and gun, hip fire, everything. All guns are pretty well as accurate as every other gun, so it's just a matter of like using the different guns and the different ammo types to their specific use cases, and then but for the most part it's like you can kind of just use whatever gun you want to as long as you got enough ammo for it. I think it was that I was playing other like shooters at the time with Infinite, that the fact that it didn't have aim down sight was really jarring to me at the time, and I just couldn't get used to it, and I put it down one day and I never picked it back up. I didn't get super far into it, so effectively I would say I haven't really played BioShock Infinite.
Right. So
we finished the first one. I'm going to do the second one probably sometime soon, and then I'll do Infinite as well and have the whole trilogy all nicely wrapped up with a bow.
Hell yeah.
Adriano, what are you playing?
I'll give you one guess to what I'm playing right now.
God.
Well, we already know.
Sorry, actually, brutal timing. This is the final turn. Let me give this a quick think. I'm going to put that there.
That's okay. I forgot to say that my birthday was a couple weeks ago, and so some people from my like stream community bought me some games, and on a whim, somebody bought me New World, the like Amazon games MMO.
Yeah.
And I've been playing it. I played a little bit on stream, and we've done a couple of like game nights in my Discord, playing it together. And I am surprisingly engaged in New World. I thought that I couldn't play an MMO again, but the fact that I think the main gameplay in terms of combat is not just like click on an enemy, hit your hotkeys until your abilities kill them, run around, kill, 5,000 wolves and then go back to town and turn it in. It's more action based, right? And there's tons of different weapon types. There's no classes in the game, so you kind of just like play whichever combination of weapons and tools and stuff you want to use. Again, makes it more organic, and it's keeping in mind as well, this is with the most recent like a new player experience update, which is fairly recent, I think. So it's a very different game compared to when it launched. It used to be way, way, way more grindy, apparently.
Should I download it now? God damn.
I mean, if you do, I'll play it with you, man. Like it seems pretty good now, honestly.
I've tried it twice now and couldn't get into it. But.
I've put about 20, maybe 20 hours into it, and I'm already level 30 out of the 60 cap. So it seems like getting through the main story. The other thing too about it is that if you just do the main story, you hit level 60. Like you don't have to do side stuff if you don't want to. So I find it very intuitive, very fun. It's a good MMO if you're kind of sick of the standard MMO, what has become standard for MMOs, I will say.
Fantasy with guns too is kind of a interesting little.
I used to be against it, honestly, but it really feels like it makes sense in this game. And I actually used the musket for a long time. But now I've swapped to the bow because the bow is a little bit more like dodging around and doing different like effects. Whereas the musket's really good for like long range. Like if I was doing a raid and I was wanting to stay away from like the raid boss and stuff, I would definitely use musket. But for single player like adventuring and leveling, the bow I think is more fun for me anyway.
So yeah, I lost that one, but I've climbed pretty high up. I was at 38 when we started the podcast. I shot right through 40 up to 44. So
Icarus's wings were made of wax.
Mm-hmm. So besides the Marvel Snapperinos, I have been playing some Overwatch with you guys on PlayStation. I'm trying to get through that battle pass. I was seriously considering not doing the next battle pass because I have enough in-game currency for the next two. And I mentioned it to you earlier, you and Marty earlier this week, Ryan. And I'm seriously considering not doing it. But then with the announcement changes that they're going to rethink battle passes and rethink certain skins and giveaways for players, I may now go into the second season battle pass to see how that is. Like I want to look forward to playing Overwatch 2 like I did with the first one. But so far out of launch, this has left a really bad taste in my mouth for this store. Like there was just something fun about playing a game, getting loot box, opening up that loot box. And when that loot box exploded and you just like see the colors in the sky, it's like you got a blue, a purple, an orange. You're just like, fuck yeah, what am I going to get? And now you go into a shop screen and everything's just laid out in tiles with prices and discount prices and whatever. And it's just not appealing anymore. But with these changes, I'm going to try to continue to play Overwatch. Besides that, I've been hitting Sea of Thieves pretty hard. Just kind of running missions over and over again with people. We were able to, I don't know if I mentioned it last week or how I mentioned it, but we were able to lottery into a lobby with each other. So then we had two ships rolling around with each other, which was great. It was really fun. So we're going to try to do that a couple more times. And it was just fun because we had a brigantine and a sloop, 4 players across those two ships. So then each ship had its personal flag. It's like its proprietary flag. Then we had emissary flags. And then when you're in an alliance, you have a third alliance flag. So it was just nice to see these two ships sailing together and just 3 flags on top, 1 on the back. It's just a beautiful sight to look at. And I think we're going to try to do that again. There's one thing that I've been thinking about doing. And there's been a lot of Mass Effect talk lately. There's like my brother's playing through it, and there's a new Mass Effect game coming out, and I haven't played Andromeda, and there's a small part of me and it's growing. This is the problem. It's growing. That wants to replay Mass Effect.
I mean, I had a lot of fun with it.
I had a lot of fun with it too when it first came out. My concern with Mass Effect going forward is this, and there's nothing from the developers. There's nothing to suggest. Well, there was a tease with Liara. There seems to be this assumption from the Mass Effect community that there will be a canonized ending to that game. That they will say, this is the one that happened, and this is the one that we're going to branch off from going forward. And that really bothers me. Because that's not what the point of that, like, that wasn't the point. It was you have your Shepard, you had your scenario, your outcome, your crew, and your ending. And that was your Shepard story. My Shepard story was no less canon or fair or proper than any of your playthroughs. And I don't like the idea of them saying, well, if you did destroy or what was the middle one? Symbiosis or whatever, those don't count. You do this one, and this is the way it happened, and this person survived, and they're going to be in this game. And that really, really bothers me. Because what was great about the Mass Effect franchise is that if you went to any of the extended media, the transmedia, the other games, the books, the comics, whatever, those were written in an ambiguous way where it fit with any person's playthrough. They had characters from the main storyline, and they referenced major events. But the four of us could play the game, have four drastically different outcomes and different crew, but we could all read the books and comic books and do the extra games, and it would always line up. It would always work out. And I found that to be incredibly genius, because there was no one set Shepard story. It was just your Shepard story. And if they say, well, that one doesn't count, that. So I think when there's a little bit more information about what the next Mass Effect is and how they're going to address that, that might push me to replay Mass Effect. So
if they make it so that there's only like, I don't know, let's just say there's 5 endings and only 3 of them are valid, are you going to intentionally play one of the valid ones then?
I don't know, to be honest, and that's the thing, because I could see this going either way. I could see this, me saying, well, I do want to play another Mass Effect, and I do want to line myself up with whatever's happening. So I would replay it and just cater my game to whatever needs to be done to get to that Mass Effect. But then I could also see myself saying, well, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be forced to play a Shepard a certain way. So if they're going to do that, I'm not going to do this at all, and I'm just not going to play the other game. So I don't know what the outcome's going to be. I don't know how I'm going to feel when they reveal more. But like this little Mass Effect thought, this bug has been sitting in the back of my head about how this franchise is going to move going forward.
Right.
And, I haven't played Andromeda, but I do know the framework of that story, and the way that they did it was so that it didn't interfere with any ending to it. So, yeah, I don't know. Well, what are your thoughts on Mass Effect and them and any future Mass Effect game?
I don't think it matters all too much to me if they choose a canonical ending or not, because there's so many other things that already do that for them to break, what they've currently done isn't that big of a deal to me. And realistically, the 3 endings aren't majorly different, right?
That sucks, though.
Like, would you even know which one you were in if you booted up a next Mass Effect game?
I know which one. I know which ones I did. I know which ending I did. So, but they did when they did the remix ending, when they did go back and redo it after the complaints, I think they did slightly alter the destroy ending. Also, I think.
Right.
Yeah. So because originally Originally, there was control, symbiosis, and destroy. And then when they redid it, there's actually control, symbiosis, damage, and then there's actually a fourth one they introduced. I think you can choose to do nothing and just kind of let everything be. So there's actually a fourth one you could have done. So I have to go back. I should actually research this for the next episode, but instead of destroy, it's heavily damage. And then it suggested that the Mass Effect relays were just heavily damaged and that they can be repaired. So I don't know. It just kind of bothers me that I went and like I did a Shepard story and I lost crew and I have something that I, went through and this was the one that I did. And it kind of irks me that they're going to say, well, yours doesn't count or has to happen like this. So.
It happened with KOTOR though. They chose a canonical ending for that.
Yeah, see, that's like an RPG is supposed to be like, it's a role-playing game. You're supposed to take on that character and make the decisions
but
as
it becomes
if you were
increasingly harder though as you make sequels, which they want to do so they can make more money to keep that up.
Do another RPG in the same universe, but don't involve those characters or those elements. Like leave like package that up, put it on a shelf. The Galaxy,
the marketing team, they're like people want to be Shepard. Let's give them a Shepard game.
But there's nothing to say that they're actually putting Shepard in the next game.
No, there's not. But I'm just saying you like how marketing teams are going to think. They think people want familiar because that's what will give them, I can trust my $80 on this next game because it has elements that I'm familiar with, right?
I'm definitely
it's harder for them to jump to some completely other story unless it's a spin-off that runs alongside a continuing mainline series.
I'm with Adriano on this, though, because even something as simple as our Arthur Morgans in Red Dead Redemption 2, Red Dead Redemption 2 has some, don't worry, I won't say any spoilers, Adriano, but it has some branching paths you could take, good or evil, whatever. But largely our story was the same, and that's not the point of that game. It's not like Mass Effect. But we were sending some screenshots and maybe some photo mode stuff or whatever to each other, and our Arthur Morgans would show up, and all of us made the comment, like Marty, Ryan, myself, and I think Tim was in a couple of those conversations too, where it's like, man, it's weird seeing someone else's Arthur Morgan. Like, that's not Arthur Morgan to me.
Hashtag not my Arthur.
Right. And it's just because of the outfit you wore, because there's so many clothing things. So to have something hair. That's so much more in depth, like choosing endings, choosing who lives and dies, whatever else you do in Mass Effect, that sucks to have that shelved or made not canon. I understand it happens, and it's not like some huge, the world's not going to split in half. But I do agree with Adriano, like, and it also raises the question of, Ryan, you're right in saying that as time goes on, it's harder to do. But is it, lazy writers? Is it too hard? Is it the marketing? Should it just be shelved? They're all good questions.
My problem with Andromeda is that they obviously did it so they didn't even have to touch anything that happens in the first 3 games, right?
That's your problem with it?
No. My problem is narratively speaking, though, I think that's lazy for them to just say, let's set it completely in another galaxy. And it kind of shows chapter. It shows how little they know of the size of a galaxy.
No, but that was
humans.
That was the beauty of it, though. That was the thing is that was them honoring what I want out of the next Mass Effect.
No, I understand that, but I'm saying it's so ridiculous for humans to say, let's go to Andromeda when there is literally a Milky Way galaxy to explore.
Yeah, but when it comes to Mass Effect, though, suffered from one of the major concerns, though, is when things get too big, too world changing. How do you go forward on that? And Mass Effect had that concern with the last game. No matter what choice you did, it was world changing. Those are things you can't easily go back on. So then when it came to Andromeda or whatever the next entry would have been, they had to say, well, do we do a prequel that is completely unrelated and takes place way before Shepard, or do we do something going forward? They want to do something going forward. But it's like, okay, we have to do something where it doesn't fuck around with any of the possible endings. So then the framework was they launched a ship into Andromeda before the ending ever happened, and they're not affected by whatever it is. If there wasn't that major world-changing ending to Mass Effect, and then they still did that Andromeda thing, I would agree with you. It was lazy and it was just easy to do and go for. But like from a framework, like, I think that was fine. It was appropriate. It was
it was the best option to adhere to what you're talking about, for sure. I just think that, you know, we've only explored like maybe a dozen planets in the Mass Effect trilogy. You know what I mean? The Milky Way is estimated to have 40 billion habitable planets. Not in terms of like living on, but I mean like you can actually. I should say they have the possibility to sustain some form of life. Not that they actually do, but. So 40 billion planets, 100 billion stars, you know?
It's not enough. We need more.
It's like, oh, let's go to Andromeda. It's like, what? We've seen 12 of these planets. You know? That's my issue with it.
Although it is a classic sci-fi tale, like Adriano was saying, where you send like a hibernated crew in a ship to go on some super long journey.
It's a tale as old as time.
You send it to another, you know, distant part of the Milky Way. Oh, here's a whole unexplored quadrant of the Milky Way that no one has ever been to or seen or touched or heard anything from. Let's go explore that.
But the Mass Effect relays, the point of them was that it does help them explore the.
But those are set up prior to the current species, right? What if there was no Mass Effect relay set up sending people or anything to that area? Yeah,
but the major change at the end of Mass Effect 3, the choice you make is galaxy-wide. Like, no matter where you go, that will have to be addressed. So if they're doing a game forward, it is very tough to do that. And I understand that, unless they did it backwards. So for instance, the tease that they showed for the next Mass Effect, whether it's a numerical entry or it's a subtitle, they teased Liara in it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There is a scenario. It's not common. It doesn't happen often. There is a scenario in where you can finish Mass Effect 3 and Liara dies. So if I had that, she didn't die in my game, but if I had that and I'm seeing Liara as the poster for this next Mass Effect entry, it's like, no, this isn't my story. This isn't what happened.
Wait, so doesn't that already confirm though? Then they're rewriting it?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It's a frustrating part. It is the only way for Liara to die in the Mass Effect franchise is she can't die in the first game. She can't die at all in the second game. And the only way that she can die in the third game is if she's in your squad and you're running towards that beam,
mm-hmm.
and your like skill or your crew rating is low enough. If you don't meet that threshold and she's in your squad and she's running with you, she gets taken out there. That's the narrow window to how she can go.
The fact that she has a possibility of dying, then that should confirm to you then that they've chosen a canonical ending.
Yeah, that frustrates me. That's annoying. So
then don't replay the Mass Effect games. Just abandon it then, or play Andromeda.
So like with and I haven't like Matt said, I haven't played Red Dead 2 yet. Red Dead 2 is a I'm not gonna say prequel, but it takes place before Red Dead, correct?
Correct.
But yeah.
So is there any sort of choices or branching paths or anything that conflicts with the first Red Dead?
Not that I'm aware, no.
Okay. All right. I'm glad. That makes
because events happen at the end of whatever ending you go with in Red Dead 2 that they mention in Red Dead because it takes place afterwards, but it's the same event. It's just the why is different.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
It's great.
I should start Red Dead.
Well, because you can be a bad Arthur or like a good Arthur in that game too, right? And I don't think they ever make reference to that. I guess you're still seen as good in the eyes of, what's his name in the first game?
Well, you're in a criminal gang, so your morality is skewed.
Right. That's right. Yeah.
Like you going through and like, I'm just making this scenario up to be totally clear. You going in and like saving one of the gang members, even if they've done something absolutely atrocious, would still be seen as good to the characters.
Right. All right. Matt, what are you playing?
What am I playing? Stubbs the Zombie, unfortunately. I am finally on the last level.
I'm going to change my nickname in my phone to that for you. I'm just going to call you Stubbs the Zombie.
Stubbs the Zombie. It's a fucking old game. I mentioned that before. I can see where I would have had fun as a kid for sure. I definitely would have played the shit out of it as a kid. But it's a short game. Luckily, there's even a trophy for beating it in, I think, under 2 hours. So I'm on the very last chapter. There's 2 missions in that chapter. What's interesting is that I looked up a guide just purely to see where I was in the mission list. And this guide has been upkept since I think 2014 or something, or a long time anyway. It's one of those old school just TXT guides, just a text file. And it was updated as recently as May of this year, which is pretty hilarious. For some reason in this particular guide, it has like 2 additional chapters that the guy just like wrote, like, something about the soundtrack in one of them, and then wrote some sort of like, hey, I hope there's a sequel or something like that in those chapters. Now, whether or not that's reflective of a cutscene or 2 cutscenes that happen at the end of the game, I've yet to confirm, but I'll be happy to complete this and delete it right away. To be blunt, but other than Stubbs the Zombie, I did a little bit of Outriders. Did 1 session in Outriders. Tried the end raid and ended up just blowing through it. So my character's like well leveled up now to do that. So Ryan, if you and or Alex want to do that, I can help you through that. That's no problem now. But that's been fun to go back to there. I only have 1 more achievement to do. It's I completed all the original game's achievements, and the World Slayer expansion added some. And I'm not sure if New Horizons, which was a free update, added any, but World Slayer certainly did. I only have 1 more left. It's a little grindy, but I'll probably get there. And then other than that, Modern Warfare 2, of course, great game. I've already talked about it on the show at length, but great game if you like Call of Duty. There's a fucking awesome story mission in which you have to survive. So you don't have like a gun. You're not given like your military issue equipment. And I won't say like how this happens because it's a story thing, but basically you have to survive on what's around. And you have to do, some very, very rudimentary crafting. Like, find a cloth and find a piece of metal, and then you have like a door prying thing. And being stealthy is your friend. You could go loud, but you have, some random gun, or maybe you don't, and it only has a couple bullets and stuff. And it, like, at first I was annoyed, but then I like kept playing. It was like, this is really, for a COD campaign specifically, this is really in depth and kind of like well thought out. And I think it reflects, someone told me, I have not confirmed this myself, but I think it reflects one of the new modes in Warzone 2. So if that's true, that's really cool. But I've completed that section of the story, and I'm well on my way to finishing. I'm definitely going to finish this COD campaign. Tim and I this week were already talking about Ghost. I really like Ghost in the story. He's a great character, actually.
Very different reasons, though.
Oh yeah, I think you're talking about fan art or something, and
everyone's voting for Ghost right now.
Yeah, and I'm just like, yeah, he's a great character. Like, I like that he never reveals his face, and he's just fucking badass and doesn't give a fuck, and he works solo, and it's great. Like, he's a great character, especially for a military shooter. So that's Call of Duty. A little bit of Overwatch 2 with you guys, and other than that, a little bit of Apex as well. Just a few sessions there. But one game I started playing, and I think I may have started playing it last week, was I started playing Dead by Daylight a little bit. So I was at a wedding recently, which is one of the episodes I missed, and I reconnected with some people there, and they love Dead by Daylight. So I did a session or two of Dead by Daylight with them, because I just had it in my library. Or maybe it was on Game Pass. I don't remember. There's games all over the place now. But I just, I've been playing Dead by Daylight, which I've never played before, and it's super fun. Still new, right? Maybe at the most 3-4 sessions in, because I did the tutorial as well by myself. But it's super fun. I'm not taking it super seriously. I'm not really, paying attention to the challenges too much or anything. I am just to sort of fuel my character through, because you need currency to level up and stuff. But game is super fun. It's ridiculous, and I don't know the meta at all. But it's pretty hilarious and pretty damn fun. We did a little run of a couple custom games because we had too many people. We had maximum team size is 4. We had 5 people, so one person played killer. The rest of us played the survivors, and that was really fun. And then we've been playing a lot of the PvP stuff, which is also a great time. So the only thing that's kind of weird and annoying is that because it's one of those games where it's like 1v a team, if you have friends on the game, in which it's, in my opinion, the most fun when you have friends on the game, you can't play as the killer because you have to play on a team and there's only one killer in the match and there's a bunch of survivors. So it's kind of a weird thing, I guess. But the game's a ton of fun. And, if it's on sale or on Game Pass or whatever, and you're interested in playing a team-based game, I definitely recommend Dead by Daylight. It's a lot of fun. But other than that, some Fortnite, of course. I think that's the last thing this week. A little bit of Fortnite. Been working on getting, I'm trying to get to the second page of the bonus rewards in the season. I've already completed the main season because it gives you a variant of the Spider-Gwen skin that is the Into the Spider-Verse movie version. So I'm trying to work toward that. And it was really challenging. I thought it was going to be very, very difficult. But just like last season, they just keep throwing random events in. Completed the Star Wars event with ease. I did the I forget the name of the car now, but it's the Rocket League car. They added the Rocket League car in the game, which is hilarious. It controls just like in Rocket League, or at least just how I remember it. And I did all the challenges there. Did the custom modes for that as well. So I've been playing with a little bit of the more metaverse part of Fortnite with the creator created maps and stuff like that for the challenges. And I'm well on my way there. I have maybe 10 levels to go or something like that. So I got tons of time. And I'm also working toward the Chrome Punk skin, which is quite a lengthy thing, although they gave you weeks and weeks to do it. So you have to level up your account, I think it is. It's not just like your season level. You level up your account. And I'm already halfway to him as well, and I got 6 or 7 weeks left, so I got tons of time. So that's been my week.
As for me, kind of similar to Matt, Overwatch and Fortnite. But then God of War Ragnarok has taken up most of my time when I found time to play. It's good. It's really good. I really enjoy it. They talk a little too much. That's been a complaint that's been going around, that they kind of walk you through the puzzles. I wonder if we try that thing up there. Hey, look it over here,
Well, they don't let you figure it out.
Yeah, and it happens a little too quickly. And then sometimes it gets even annoying where it's like Atreus is like, oh, let's go down this path. And you're like, okay. But you want to like kind of look around for like collectibles or whatever, or like, items on the ground and whatnot. And then so I like walk in the opposite direction. He's like, oh, okay. Or you can go over there. And like, just like, it's just like, I don't need that. I don't need that level of immersion,
It's like in The Last of Us, where Ellie will just sass you all the time for like ignoring her and doing whatever else you want to do.
It's fine, but you need to give it time. Don't just do it immediately, If I'm exploring like a little corner of the map for like 5 minutes, then you can put a little dialogue thing in there,
Be
but not
hey, man.
right as I turn the camera.
He don't even move. You just turn the camera and he's just like, oh, okay. Fuck me, I guess. Like, whoa, all right.
And Horizon had the same issue where she just talks too much. Where she every time she grabs some flowers, she'll be like, oh, I'll have to put this in my pouch or something like that, And they actually released an update to kind of tone that down a bit. And it led some people to speculate that it might be an accessibility thing. People who are who can't see very well, maybe needs more audio cues and stuff like that. And all these games really have a lot of accessibility options. And I wonder if it kind of spilled over into just the normal game. Right. Them thinking, oh, maybe this is a good idea to have more dialogue, guiding you through a level or something.
Or an accidental toggle even.
Or that, yeah. So I'm kind of hoping they update it and kind of, tone that back a bit. Maybe have a setting in there where you can keep it active or increased if you want. But yeah, other than that, the game's been good. If you like the first game, I think you'll definitely like this one. So there you go. That's it.
What's really annoying about characters talking like that is when they're asking you to do a skill-based thing and it's difficult and you're trying and they keep yelling at you to do it. Like, come on, just jump over the ledge. Just jump over the ledge. Come on, we have to get over the... Fuck! Like, I'm trying.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
That reminds me of one of the least good Resident Evil games.
The least good lord.
Arguably bad, Resident Evil 6. If you're ever playing that game on your own, I don't know why it's reminding me of this, but if you're playing that game on your own, there's always 2 characters per campaign. And if you're playing on your own with AI, there are times in that game where both characters have to open doors to progress forward. And there are scenarios where there are zombies in the arena with you in the area, and they'll keep on coming, and you have to just get into the door to keep going. And if you're playing as Leon, you have to go in and it puts you into this this stance where you're on your where your hand is on the doorknob, and then that will trigger your AI partner to come over and do it, but you won't progress through until she gets there. But the problem is you can't do anything, and while she's making her way around all the way through the map and through these enemies, if a zombie comes up on you and hits you, it takes you out of that stance, and then it sends her back into the automated fight mode, and she'll just go back into the arena and fight again. So then if you put your hand on the door to try to get her to come over to progress, another zombie's just going to hit you again. So then if you take out the zombie and you do it again, another one's just going to spawn. And it's just this frustrating thing of I have to wait till her path is close enough to the door where I can put my hand on it, where I won't be interrupted, and then she can path to it. Those little tiny frustrations in games.
Yeah. Good lord.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for listening, everyone. Tim, where can they find you?
Yes, sir. Normally on twitch.tv/thesidetrack, where I tend to stream Mondays to Fridays in the mornings, Eastern Standard Time. A little bit up in the air with all the housework that's been going on recently, but we're getting towards the end of the process, so hopefully more stable streams soon-ish, hopefully. Yeah, where we're, like I said, doing some BioShock mostly. And then on
2 Worlds.
On 2 Worlds, yeah. And then on Wednesday nights, we're going to keep 2 Worlds 2 going, right?
Hell yeah.
Ryan?
Yeah.
Come on, man. I leveled up another character so we could try to have a bit more variety going on.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and Ryan, that Borderlands, yeah.
Yeah. All right, you can see us on Wednesdays, twitch.tv/DamonPatch Media, playing 2 Worlds. There you have it. All right, thanks for listening. We'll see you guys next time.
Thanks for listening.
Peace.